Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the 2011 Spanish film, The Skin I Live In. And I've been wanting to watch this film for a while now. It seemed really fucked up, and I like a fucked up movie from time to time. So the film starts out where we see this woman named Vera, and she's wearing a full nude bodysuit with a bunch of zippers and seams in odd places. Like underneath her boobs, underneath her armpits, there's a zipper. And she's seemingly trapped in this room, but can talk through an intercom to a servant named Maria, who will send her food and stuff up the like little service elevator that's only for food. What's that thing called? I don't know. And then we see Antonio Banderas' character, Dr. Robert Ledgard. And he's giving a presentation to a bunch of people talking about this new artificial skin that he's trying to create that can help burn victims replace their skin. And also this skin would be burn resistant and insect resistant, so you couldn't get malaria. After the presentation, he's talking to this other scientist, presumably doctor, and we find out that this system that he is trying to create for the new sim is called Gal, named after his wife who was burned to death in a car accident. Unfortunate. And Robert talks about using pig skin with human genetics because they have stronger skin than humans do, and that makes it burn resistant or bug resistant or something. And so he's told to stop working on his project because you can't cross species genetics. And Robert says he's only tested it on lab mice, which is a lie. So he comes home, he has this huge, beautiful home, and in his room he has this huge screen that's like bigger than life size that's right in on Vera's room. And he's kind of creepily watching her a little bit. Seems like he wants her. So he tells Vera that the project is over and that she's completely healed. And so at this point, I'm assuming that Vera was a burn victim and is recovering from all the skin procedures that Robert was doing on Vera. So Vera asks if she can live with him as equals and tries coming on to him. And he seems like he's into it, but still begrudgingly rebuffs her. So Robert goes and is talking to Maria, his head servant, I guess. I wanted to call her a housekeeper, but they always refer to her as a servant, which is like, I feel like that's disrespectful, but not my servant. So he's talking to Maria, and Maria is talking about how Vera's face looks too similar and she can't be let out in public or she'll be recognized. So again, thinking that they put a dead person's face on her face is my assumption right now. And Maria thinks that Robert should just kill Vera to protect himself. So Maria implies that Robert's done something like this before, and whoever his ward was killed themselves. My guess would be the wife gal is that person. So Robert's out and Maria's running the house, and her son, Zeca, who's wearing like a full-on tiger costume, but looks like he would be a tiger for like a children's party. So Maria's son, Zeca, comes to their little security camera system outside, knocking on the gate. And Maria doesn't even recognize him. It seems like she hasn't seen him in a while. And he convinces her to let him in. She just lets him into like the front gate area, not trying to let him in the house. And he kind of forces himself inside. So Zeca comes in the house with Maria, and on TV, he's wanted for just doing like a jewelry heist. And so Zeca's like, I need a place to hide out. And Maria's like, it's not going to be here, bitch. So he's on the TV, wanted by police, and it seems the real reason why he came to see his good old mom, Maria, is because he wants Robert to change his face, give him a face transplant, if you will. Not sure if it's because he has really deep scars on his face or he just doesn't want to be recognized by the police. My guess is the latter, because I think he probably thinks the scars are cool. So his mom's like, that's not going to happen. And he's like, well, I'll blackmail you. That's when he notices TVs in the corner that are monitoring Vera, and he seems to recognize her and says, I thought I saw that bitch burn alive. Maybe not the exact phrasing he used, but you get what I mean. So I'm thinking Vera really does have Gal's face, his ex-wife, because he said, or not his ex-wife, his wife, because he said that his wife had burned alive. So turns out Zeca's a big perv and is like licking the monitor with Vera on it. And his mom, Maria, is like, don't fuck with her. And so he binds and gags his mom, like any good son would do, and forces her to tell him where the key to Maria's room is, because of course she's locked in her room because she's a ward. And so he gets the key. She tries to kick him and get away, captures her and is raping her in her room. And Maria is just tied and gagged with the freaking monitors to her room right in front of her. So she gets to watch her son raping Vera. And then luckily Robert comes home and he grabs a gun and runs into Vera's room, and Robert shoots him twice, dead, and then gives a big embrace to Vera. So after all that happens, I think since Robert's feeling a little bad for her from the mass assault that just happened to her, he lets her have some fresh air, get out of her room. And she's talking to Maria, and Maria spills the tea. She's like, so I've been a servant for Robert's dad, Mr. Ledgard, for a long ass time, and his wife, Mrs. Ledgard. And Mrs. Ledgard was barren, and Mr. Ledgard couldn't resist this hot piece of ass. So Robert was born. But Mrs. Ledgard said that she birthed him. But Maria, as their servant, was the one who raised Robert. Now, Robert is not aware of this. So Robert and Zeca are actually half-brothers. And Maria is like, now, they're very different, but what they have in common is their fathers are both psychopaths. She knows how to pick men. So Maria was busy as a servant for the Ledgards in raising Robert, and she didn't actually get to raise her other son, Zeca, that she had with some other asshole. And so Zeca started selling drugs at 7. So good life for everybody in this story. So Maria tells Vera that 12 years ago, Zeca was on the run, because it's seemingly he's always on the run. And Maria decided to hide him out in the shed. And Gal, Robert's wife, found Zeca and fell for him. And they went to go run off together. And in their getaway car, they got in an accident. And it seemed like she was dead. And so Zeca dipped out. And Robert finds Gal's body, and she's completely burned but still breathing. And so he takes her back home and he starts trying to help recover her. And he keeps the room completely dark, puts curtains over the windows, and hides all the mirrors so she can't see her reflection. And just a side note of questioning for the car accident. So, did no police come to the scene of a major car fire? Did they not find it was weird that there were no bodies found in a car fire? It seems like she was just taken back to her home, not to the hospital. I know he has like a whole medical setup in his home, like a psychopath, but it seems weird that you wouldn't report that or anything. Like, you don't want to try to get Zeca for killing or leaving your wife for dead. Lots of questions. Anyway, so after this accident, Robert is doting on his wife, trying to do as much research as he can to help her situation, and she's regaining her strength. Not looking so much better, but the strength part is up, and one day she hears her daughter, they have a daughter, who knew, singing outside. So she walks to the window to go hear her daughter better, look at her daughter. And she opens up the blinds and she sees her reflection in the window, screams, jumps out the window and kills herself. And guess who's right there to see her mommy do it all? Good old Norma, their daughter. So that's got to be traumatizing. So weirdly, after this incident, Robert is all over Vera and wanted to make out with her, wanting to have sex with her, even though she was just raped. Weird, also not cool. Again, lots of questions why he's all over her. He looked at her seductively like he wanted her, but when she was trying to kiss him earlier, he pushed her away and wasn't interested. But now that she's been raped by your brother who you didn't know was your brother, you're interested? Do you feel sorry for her? Do you feel like you making out with her and having sex with her will somehow protect her? I don't get why he's into her all of a sudden. Or like so physically into her. It's weird. I was like, maybe murder gets the juices flowing. Haven't personally murdered anybody, so I'm not sure yet. If anybody has, let me know. Just kidding. So now Robert is taking us back through his memories to 6 years ago, where Robert and his daughter Norma were guests at a wedding, and they were at the wedding reception, and Robert is talking to a friend while Norma's talking to fellow young people her age, and Robert makes a comment, "I'm surprised she hasn't come and asked me to leave yet. She seems more social than usual." She's getting herself out there. Oh my, look at her recover from watching her mom kill herself in front of her. But anyway, it seems like it's been a rough 6 years for her, understandably so. So Norma is kind of making eyes with this guy across the room. And then, the wedding keeps going. Robert eventually realizes that he hasn't seen Norma in a sec. So he goes wandering outside. They have a huge ass garden. He wanders and he sees the fellow young people she was hanging out with all having an orgy in the garden. And then he sees the guy who was making eyes at his daughter leave on his motorcycle. And so he walks down a little further. He sees Norma's shoe on the ground and he sees her sweater. And then he finds her at the base of a tree unconscious. And it definitely seems like she was just raped by the guy who she was making eyes at who left on the motorcycle. And so Robert is grabbing her and trying to shake her and yelling her name to try to wake her up. And Norma wakes up and is in hysterics and seems very frightened by her father, as if she doesn't remember who just physically assaulted her. And then we see Norma at a mental hospital, and Robert goes to visit her, and she just goes into hysterics when she sees him and then hides in the closet. And the female nurse is like, "Don't worry, all the guys left the room." And she's just horrified of men, and she's also just so traumatized that she's unable to distinguish who her rapist was. So she feels like her dad might have been the one who hurt her. And Norma's doctor tells Robert that he should visit less because it only makes Norma's condition worse. And of course, that's heartbreaking for him. He's already lost his wife and now he's losing his daughter. And then it takes us back from the point of view of the guy she was making eyes at. His name is Vincent, and he works at a dress shop with his mom. And, you know, is an overly confident white dude who's entitled and is hitting on his coworker who's a lesbian. And so we go through that wedding reception from his perspective, and he's making eyes with Norma. His friends break off ahead of them, and it's just him and Norma talking, and he's like, "Are you on any drugs?" And she starts listing quite a bit of drugs and like the milligrams that she's taking, and they're all antipsychotics. So again, last 6 years been pretty rough for her, gonna assume, and understandably so. So Norma lists the antipsychotic she's on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, cool, I'm super fucked up and high too." And she trips and takes off her shoe, and then I think she just said she was hot, and she's like, "Oh, I just wish I could be naked all the time," and takes off her sweater. And Vincent's like, "Oh, I can help you out with that," and is like trying to undress her, and she's like, "It's just a statement, stop attacking me." Except for she's so in shock. He's starting to just kiss her, and she's kind of just frozen, and they fall down to the ground at a base of a tree, and he's just taking off her clothes, kissing her neck. She's not doing anything. According to the Wikipedia page, it said that the song she was singing while her mom killed herself was playing at the wedding, which is why she was like frozen. But I took it as because this guy is a fucking creep and all of a sudden was like on top of her and touching her and kissing her, that she was like frozen in shock. Either way, she's obviously not into what he's given. And so he's raping her and she's just frozen. And then eventually she kind of wakes out of her shock and is like, "No, no, 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 no." And he covers her mouth. She bites him, and then he knocks her out. He realizes what he's done. He starts covering her back up, slipping her panties back on, and deuces out on that motorcycle right past Robert. So Robert, after the situation happens, stalks down Vincent and runs him off the road and shoots him with a little tranquilizer dart and kidnaps him and chains him up in this like dungeon-esque basement thing. Do people still have dungeons? They should. So Vincent's mom, who owns the dress shop that he worked at, goes to the police, and the police say that his motorcycle was found crushed at the bottom of the cliff, and that even though there wasn't a body found, they believe that his body must have been washed away by the sea. And his mom is like, no, I don't believe that. I think he was kidnapped." What? Man in their mid-20s get kidnapped? Have I been missing the statistics of all the men in their 20s being kidnapped? I don't know why that would be your first thought about your 27-year-old son. Of course, they didn't accidentally fall off a cliff and die. They must have been kidnapped. I just don't understand why your conclusion would be jump to kidnapping, even though he was kidnapped. I don't know why you would jump to that conclusion in your brain. It just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, so Vincent's in this stone dungeon and only given like a big bucket of water to drink out of like a dog in front of him, which I'm not mad about, to be honest. So it cuts to Robert at Norma's funeral, and it seems she died at the mental hospital by jumping out of the window and killing herself the same way her mom did. And so Robert's not having a great day, and he shaves Vincent up and chloroforms him and gets him ready for surgery. Vincent is on the operating table right before he's going under, and he's still the true narcissist that he is. He doesn't understand why he would have been kidnapped. He's such a great lad. Why would this happen to him? And so Robert's like, you remember that wedding reception like a month ago? you were at? Do you remember that girl who you were with and then you raped her? Yeah, she ended up dying and her funeral was today. And Vincent's like, I don't know. Are you sure that was me? He like tries to pull a Shaggy and it's like, pretty sure it was fucking you, bitch. And Vincent's like, I don't know. I was pretty fucked up at the time, so like, hard to recall. Glad it was so fucking memorable for you. Can traumatize someone else for the rest of their fucking life and you don't even remember it? Cool. Love it. Anyway, so Robert lays out what happened for him. And then Vincent's like, okay, I guess I understand why you kidnapped me. And so Vincent's put under for surgery. And Robert even has another surgeon come help him, but the other surgeon just thinks it's like a consensual procedure. And we see Vincent wake up and he looks, from what we can see, fine. So I'm hoping that he was neutered. I'm thinking this is a hard candy moment. Well, not exactly, because I hard candy. Watch the movie Patrick Wilson, Elliot Page. Again, another fucked up film. So Robert tells Vincent that he was given a vaginoplasty, which is he was given a vagina. So that's a shock to wake up from. So my thought is like, so after I found out he got the vaginoplasty, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. It's like spelled vaginoplasty. Anyway, so I'm like, is this guy gonna be Vera? That'd be fucked. Anyway, so Robert tells Vincent that in order for his vagina to heal correctly, that he needs to practice dilating his vagina so it doesn't stick shut. So he's given dilators to shove up there to make sure everything's functioning properly. Oh, Robert tells Vincent to treat that puss like his life depends on it, which is sound words that we should all live by. So then they do an overlay of Vera wearing like a silicone recovery mask over Vincent's face. So Vincent is Vera. That means Robert tried to fuck his daughter's rapist. So now they're showing Vera, and this seems earlier in the recovery process. So she still has scarring and all those places where she had zippers and seams on her full bodysuit seems to be where the scarring is from burns of like singeing the pieces of skin together. I don't do that in my spare time. So Vera is given that full bodysuit thing for the first time and told that it will help mold her body and heal it or something like that. So then Vera attacks Robert and steals his key, runs out of her room, and Robert's just slowly trailing behind. All the other doors are locked. He knows she's not going to go anywhere. He has a gun with him. She runs and grabs a knife from the kitchen, and she's like, haha, and he's like, gun beats knife, sorry. So she turns the knife on herself and slits her throat. But unfortunately for Vera, Robert comes and sews her neck up so she can still live to see another day in her room that she can't leave. After he sews her up, that's when he's like, I can't keep calling you Vincent from now on. You're Vera. So Vincent is given dresses and makeup, which he rips up the dresses and then he just uses the makeup he's given to write the dates down on the wall and just write random shit out of boredom. So right after Vincent is renamed Vera, Maria shows up to Robert's and says how she hasn't worked there in 4.5 years, seemingly since Norma had died. So she's had this time off where he's kidnapped a man and turned them into a woman against their will. So Robert tells Maria that Vera is his patient and to look after her, keep her in the room. Back at the present, Robert is really into Vera. Again, weirdly, he wasn't into her until he murdered the guy who raped her. Don't know why that's a turn on. Anyway, Robert's really growing feelings for Vera, and he tells Vera that she can be free, and Vera promises that she'll never leave Robert. So Robert allows Vera to go shopping with Maria, which is nerve-wracking for everyone. And while Robert's home alone, his business partner, surgical partner, however doctors work, not sure, comes over and sees in a paper a picture of Vincent and recognizes him from the vaginoplasty. And Vincent is in the paper as missing and says straight up, I think you, Robert, kidnapped Vincent and changed him into a woman. And Robert's like, no, he just moved to Hollywood and started in porn like everybody with good values does. So Robert's partner threatens to tell the board about him experimenting on a human. And so Robert pulls the gun out of his drawer and was like, I don't think so, buddy. And right as he's doing that, Vera walks in the room and she had heard everything. And it's like, I'm not Vincent anymore. I'm Vera, and I've always been a woman. And then goes over to Robert and kisses him. Weird. So that eases the partner, and he leaves. So now Robert's trying to finally fuck Vera again. But Vera says she's still hurting from the rape. But good thing, earlier today when she was allowed to go shopping for the first time, she got lube. Just let me go downstairs and grab it. But she also grabs the gun. And she comes back up and he's like, I thought you said you would never leave me. And she's like, you shouldn't believe everything you hear. And shoots him. And everybody has pretty good aim with the gun. They shoot and kill. They're not shooting to injure. Anyway, so the shot wakes Maria up and she grabs a gun and goes to check out the situation. Vera hides under the bed. And then as Maria enters the room, shoots and kills her. And then Vera escapes the house and goes to her mother's shop and tells his mom and his old lesbian coworker, hey, even though this looks like Vera, I was your son. That must be an awkward combo. So anyway, Vera Vincent ends up being free. Yay. So I kind of love movies that it's very ambiguous what you feel about people. They're all bad with just human elements in them. Do we end up feeling good that Vera's been released at the end, even though he raped Norma, which ended up having her kill herself? But I have major questions too, like why would Robert make his daughter's rapist to look like his wife? Like, you were obviously attracted to your wife. I get using this guy who raped your daughter as a science experiment, kind of, but why that science experiment had turned into looking like his wife, who he then wanted to fuck? Confusing for me. And if Zeca fell for Gal, why would he want to rape her? Or was he always just a shitty guy and Gal's just not that bright of a person? And he would have eventually raped her anyway. I don't know. And then also complicated feelings towards Maria. She raised 2 fucked up kids, but I mean, she wasn't really there for one. So could she help that? But I don't know. It's all a mess, but I loved it. It's very fucked up. It keeps you thinking. I love not having a clear, I like them, I don't like them. It's all very complicated feelings towards every character, which I enjoy. Yeah, it was a really good movie though. Very fucked up. If you're looking for a fucked up movie to watch and you don't mind watching subtitles unless you speak Spanish already, then this is the movie for you. But it was very good and it had me thinking for hours after watching the movie, which I love. So hope you enjoy it if you have watched it or will watch it or just wanted to hear about the movie. Is it a vaginoplasty? I feel like it should be vaginoplasty.
Vaginoplasty.
Vagina?
Vaginoplasty.
Do I look like I was in the Manson family with my hair like this? I hope not. I know I'm definitely too fat for the Manson family.